kind of told myself as like a Christian kid, like, oh, I'm listening to this, but this isn't going to really affect me. Like, yeah, they're violent. I'm not going to do that.
Came out with this stuff and he sounded so smart and so like, oh, this is a more friendly version of Christianity. It's a more this version of Christianity. And then he went and did some debates and those are resurfacing now. And it's like.
And again, I was hiding everything. I was lying about it. So I think the moment where Jesus was like, no, you actually can't have both. This isn't syncretism. This is, you're giving your life to me.
And how does she take it? How does she respond?
She immediately said that.
Ruslan.
Thank you for doing this, bro. This long overdue. We did something Patreon exclusive at Mike Mack's event, I think in like 2021. Oh,
okay.
Right? Was it 2021?
That's right. No, you're right. You're right. I forgot about that. Backstage.
Yeah, that was one of my last full rap shows. I did that rap show, and then I did another rap show like February. Those are the biggest gaps. And so it was fun to be with everybody at that event. We talked a bit there, but it was noisy, and we didn't want to put it out. This is before they had really fire noise canceling AI tools to clean up audio.
Okay.
But yeah, man, you've been on a run lately, bro. Like,
thank you, bro.
Consistently. I feel like it's been a while since there's been a full album, and we're going to talk about that. But you've just consistently, you're touring, you're dropping singles, you're dropping stuff with Indie Tribe.
Yeah.
So you have this really interesting approach of like not putting out a bunch of solo albums, but being very visible and still putting out and feeding the market.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having me, by the way. I actually am an album artist. Like, I love albums. Like, I love putting together albums. I love all of that. I started out my career just like dropping projects like back to back. And then there was a shift in the industry where like album consumption was down. It was more about singles. And I was like, I don't want to become a single artist, but I do want to master this part of the industry. Like, everything moves so fast, you have to be adaptable. So I was like, I at least need to have this bag, basically. You know what I'm saying? And so that was like a shift. It was a very natural shift over to the singles. And I think the way that I process it, I'm always thinking that I'm creating an album. Like, I'm not like, I'm just doing singles right now. I'm always working on an album, but then if something rises to the top and it's like this one doesn't fit the album that I'm writing, and also it's an excellent song and has like that commercial appeal, then I will still put it out as a single. And I like to build a world around the single itself the same way I would do an album. So my most successful singles, they had robust rollout plans, music videos, like all these concepts and worlds kind of built around them, some type of message. And that really took off. That's what, 2020, Parabolic and Willie, coming off the lowercase tape in 2019. That's really what like changed the trajectory of my career. And then also kind of very naturally, it was time to kind of rebuild Indie Tribe, and we really wanted to make it so that it was a standalone act, not a label, not just kind of the sum of its parts, but a separate act. And so that would take a discography as well. Like, we want it to get booked as its own thing, not just, oh, we want to book all 5 of y'all, so we'll call it Indie Tribe. It's like, no, you book Indie Tribe, you get the Indie Tribe discography. So we had to build that discography. So took like 3 years to actually kind of catch up to our solo careers, like putting out albums with Indie Tribe. And then so last year was when I put out my first solo album in 5 years, The People We Became.
Yeah, you on them Kendrick windows, bro.
Yeah. Well, not anymore. It was like a necessity. It was like, had to build Indie Tribe. These singles had to properly like value what these singles are doing. But last year marked the beginning of me like turning back to my solo career as well, basically.
Yeah, I just like that there's always music coming out.
Yeah,
because it doesn't feel like a Kendrick 5-year window.
That's right. Yeah. It was even in that 5 years. Honestly, my music output increased. I didn't do a solo album.
Yeah.
But like collaborations, singles, Indie Tribe stuff, I was actually putting out more music than I did in the years with my solo albums. So.
Yeah. And the pace, you think you could be able to maintain it with putting out an Indie Tribe album every year and a Dill album?
I think it's gonna be like a Indie Tribe year and then solo year.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of how we'll
rotate.
Do it. Yeah, 18 months to a year type thing.
Yeah.
But the Indie Tribe projects also come together a lot quicker because there's 5.
Sure.
You know what I mean? There's 5 members. There's 4 writers who can write hooks and verses and melodies, and you know, 3 of us produce. So it's just a lot less intensive on each person than a solo album. You know,
you feel like when you're doing an album versus a single, your approach is exactly the same. You're not going in like, hey, I like we were talking with Hovey and had a conversation with him and Forrest about, hey, like the next thing you put out has to be a hit. Like it has to be a great record. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna make the very best that I can, and then out of 10 records that comes out, if one of those is a hit, I'm gonna go all in on that record. Or do you just put out what you want? Like, what is your process for?
It's somewhere in between. I think that that's kind of another. That's a growing edge for me. Is the like, okay, we're going in here and we're A&Ring a record that's gonna be a hit to follow up the last hit.
Okay,
that's something that is like a developing edge for me. Whereas, I come from more of just like very concept, like the message of the song, the moment of what I recorded, and just do I love it? Do I think this will resonate with the fan base that I've built? And the fan base that I've built has a similar sensibility to me. And so if I'm like, if I think they're gonna like it and I like it, then it's gonna, you know, I should put it out. But I do think that the next era, in the same way that I was an album artist who tried to develop that like singles bag, I think the next level is, okay, let's try to take some big swings on like commercial viability that kind of breaks through some of these ceilings that we've been under. So
yeah, I feel like the hardest thing for me about that is where music has gone now is vertical short form videos.
Yeah.
Right? That's discoverability. That's a hit record. That's how you get new people to your Spotify. And the hard part about that is I feel like the people that do that really well, like their brain works different. Meaning like if I'm thinking of a Nick D, I'm thinking of a Connor Price, I'm thinking of these guys. It's almost like, and Nick has told me this before. Nick is like, I have the video idea for the viral clip first, then I go write a song about it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
that's not me at all.
My brain don't work that way,
that's
bro.
Not me at all.
You know, it just seems very different.
It's it's 100% a different skill set. And I think people try to like downplay it, and it's nothing to be downplayed. It's just a completely
totally
different. Almost like discipline of art. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm very song first, very concept first, very, you know, playing around in the studio. And then I like to build the world, the visual world, merch, whatever it is. I do love that stuff, but I do that after. The song is like deciding all of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that other way, that's not what happens in my head. What's happening in my head is bars, lyrics, concepts. Everything's gonna flow out of that.
Yeah.
So, and I think that you can see that difference between like my socials and Nick D's socials. It's like my streaming is very good for an independent artist, you know. But my socials don't like they're not typically what you see with somebody who has 1 million monthly listeners. Like, meaning that it's lower than you would think. You would think there'd be more virality. Like that's what people think of nowadays. It's like I'm not a very viral artist because I don't have that instinct. You know what I mean? So I tend to go like very deep with my audience, and then it's kind of a brick by brick. Like they're so bought in that they're bringing more people in. And then, you know, there'll be a really big moment, a Rolling Loud moment, or I'll have like, you know, an On the Radar moment or something like that that brings more people in, and then we go like super deep.
I mean, it's depth versus width. You know, you can go deep or you can go wide. Preferably, you want to go both.
Both, right?
Right. But yeah, I think that's a really good point. So You had a line, country boy, but I hang around with city slickers.
Yeah.
Right. Tennessee.
Yeah.
Murfreesboro is where you're originally from?
No, Murfreesboro is where I live now.
Okay, where you originally from?
Well, okay, that's a little complex of a question. I was born in Hayward, California.
Okay.
My whole family's from the Bay Area of California, San Francisco, Oakland, Newark. But I was only there till I was like 4.
Okay.
So I've grown up and spent most of my life in Middle Tennessee. When I talk about the sticks, I'm talking about Bedford County, Tennessee. I'm talking about Bell Buckle, War Trace.
These are places I have never heard of.
Of course you haven't. Like Bell Buckle is like, when I was there, it was like 350 people.
The population
of Bell Buckle.
For the whole town?
350 people.
350 people.
Yeah. So most people live out in the county. So they're not counting that in the census. But that is the town of the area that we live in.
Okay, hold on. How do you go from being raised in the Bay,
San
Francisco, Oakland area until you're 4, and then your family moves to the country?
Well, I lived in 9 states before I was 9. So I lived in California, Texas, Kentucky, Illinois, Florida, New York, and then Tennessee. But when I got to Tennessee, I was 9. So still most of my life has been
your formative years. You're in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Military family?
No, that's what everybody always asks.
Okay.
The next closest thing, Walmart.
Oh, okay. Okay. So your dad or your mom's getting moved around.
Yeah, my dad worked on the logistics side of Walmart, so the distribution centers. So like, the big, so you need a lot of land for those. So they would build them in rural areas, like places with a lot of land.
Interesting.
So we're moving to all these different states into these like rural communities, or at least communities with a lot of land. And then he would like run the plant essentially, and then they would like move him to do that again, do the whole process again. So it was like very quick until we got to Tennessee.
And then why did you guys park in Tennessee for so long?
I think mom was like
I'm done.
The kids need to go. I need to go to school like in one place type vibe.
Yeah. And I mean, Middle Tennessee, 350 people, small country town.
Yeah.
Was it just like, oh, okay, this is a great place to raise a family, or
it was big culture shock especially for my parents, because they had all their formative years, whatever, everything in the Bay Area, right? And so I remember when they got the call that we were moving from upstate New York to Tennessee, I remember mom crying about it, like, because she didn't want to live in the South. I mean, she's West Coast, you know what I mean? Like, obviously a black family.
Predominantly white neighborhood area.
Yeah, for sure. And so she was like terrified of what's it gonna mean for me to like raise like 2 black boys in the South, you know what I mean? And she has no context for that really, except when we lived very shortly in like Kentucky, and even the part of Illinois that we lived in was like, it was actually probably the worst place that we lived in, like racial tension wise. It was actually nuts, like in Illinois, like threats of burning crosses, like dad getting pulled over for nothing, like so much that like family came out from California to stay with us. And
this is the 90s or the early 2000s?
This is the early 2000s.
Wow.
Yeah.
I see. I've been in California my whole life, so all of that just sounds like a different planet to me.
Yeah.
Especially in the 2000s. Like I was in high school.
Yeah.
In the 2000s.
For sure.
With black friends, Hispanic friends, white friends, like that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, rural Illinois, like I'm sure if anybody's listening from there, they're like, yeah, bro, it's different. Like it's like much worse than Tennessee. Like,
so Tennessee was less tense.
Oh yeah, Tennessee was less tense. I mean, it's the South. There, I still went through a whole bunch of like microaggressions and all types of stuff. But as far as I know, that time we were in Illinois was the worst. Like nobody. I mean, kids say stuff in high school. You know? I don't know. I'm also thinking back right now, and I'm like, I think I'm just the kind of person to not necessarily take threats so crazy. Because I mean, a kid did get suspended in my high school for saying he was going, like, for bringing a rifle to school in his pickup truck after saying all of these racist things
towards you
about me and my friends. Yeah,
okay,
for sure. That 100% happened.
Whoa.
So
hold on.
Yeah, that happened.
White kid?
Yeah.
Says a bunch of crazy stuff about you and your all your friends were black or mainly
Yeah,
black?
yeah. That was like a mixed group,
mixed group.
He was saying things about like the black kids.
And how big is your whole school at this point?
Yeah, I would say 9th through 12th grade is like 400 people.
Okay, so now this is a bigger town you're in, or you're driving far to
No,
go to
it's just that this school, like people are coming from Bell Buckle, from War Trades.
Got you.
From,
And so he makes some threats, takes his rifle to school and gets arrested for it? Am I tracking correctly?
No, he didn't get arrested. He got suspended because it was a hunting rifle. And so he's like, oh, it just was still in my truck from hunting.
The perks of
Could be
Tennessee,
true.
Middle Tennessee.
Yeah. I mean, it could be true.
Yeah.
Did
you guys ever resolve it?
No,
No.
definitely not. No, we didn't talk. I mean, I put it in like some of my first music, and that actually made like a big uproar in the town that I'm from, because it was still when I was like Facebook marketing. So this is like I'm using my personal account and stuff, and it caused this whole thing where people were like, no, that's like blown out of the water. They don't want their town to be seen that way. So like, that's not like what happened, or this isn't a good representation, or like, people loved you or whatever. And then there's like all the black people from the town commenting on the stuff like, this 100% happened. Like this is exactly what happened. I don't know what y'all want us to do. Like this is what happened, And I think he like commented on that and was like, he was kind of like halfway apologizing or whatever. But the thing is, I didn't have like, I don't know, it wasn't like beef. I was just telling my story. I knew that happened. That was the water that I swam in. Like people come to school in rebel flag t-shirts and the South will rise again, like apparel, and singing racist songs and everything. Thinking back, like as I'm thinking about it right now, I'm like, dang, it was like kind of crazy. But at the time, it's like,
yeah,
it's just what you swim in.
And so when you say country living, are you talking like farms and like cows and like that sort of stuff?
Yeah, 100%. Like there were mornings that I'd wake up and there would be like our subdivision was basically surrounded by a farm, and we wake up and there'd be like cows in our front yard. And you just gotta wait till the farmer like gets them out of your yard. Like they're just eating your grass, like, yeah. And you just go to school. Like that's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then so how did you get into music?
So my family's very like close and tight knit. And so it's like I'm growing up in this area, but I'm also very influenced by my family, who's this West Coast family, this very well-traveled family. So like, that's why it's hard to place me. Like for people who don't know me, when I meet people in different cities, they're like, it's very hard for them to place where I'm from, Yeah.
And the music too. I would say the music
is like
sounds like it's from all over.
I feel like once people know my story, then they're like, oh, the music makes way more sense now. Like it's just like it's pulling from all these different experiences. But my uncle is he's an incredible musician, multi-Grammy Award winning drummer. And I grew up like going to his shows when he would, he'd be playing with all these different artists. And so he really got me into music. My mom and dad just are music lovers. Like they listen to a very diverse like catalog of music, but my uncle is like the musician. So he put me on to jazz. He put me on to spoken word poetry. Like he put me on to Christian hip hop. He's the
What year was this when you got put on Christian hip hop?
What year was that? I think it was like in middle school. So like 2005 or something like that.
Okay. Well, this is early.
Yeah.
I'm always curious because I've been paying attention to Christian music since like 99, 2000, 2001-ish.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting like when the starting point is for somebody.
He gave me House of Representatives by Cross Movement and Christology Volume 1, which is The Ambassador, I think. And then he gave me After the Music Stops, Cray. And so that's like what got me into
Gotcha.
Christian hip hop, yeah.
Ever listen to 4th Avenue Jones?
I don't think so.
Oh man.
4th Avenue
I just started showing Levi 4th Avenue Jones and
okay.
he's hooked.
He's from that era?
is that era. You remember Ahmad, back in the day Ahmad?
Yes.
So he had a Christian band called Fourth Avenue Jones that was
Okay.
active from like 99 to like 2007, 2008-ish.
Like from Chicago?
No, from South Central.
Oh, okay.
South Central. I'm gonna have to play you Fourth Avenue.
Yeah.
Ahmad is still like one of my favorite rappers to this day.
Okay.
Because who he evolved into post back in the day was like an amazing lyricist. You know? So I'm always, they were signed to Goatee for a minute for their last album. It was more of a rock album. And a lot of the stuff he was doing, like it ended up kind of blending rock and roll and like soul and hip hop. Like it kind of happened after the fact with the Kanyes and the Lil Waynes and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, sidebar.
Yeah.
So you get exposed to Christian music. You're living in this small town.
Yeah.
How do you land in Murfreesboro? Was that a college thing?
MTSU.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I actually wanted to like go out of state for college. That's just like what had always been in my head. But then I wanted to go for music production. And after doing the research, it was like MTSU is one of the top in the country. Their music, their recording industry program, one of the top in the country, especially for public university. And so we started looking into that. I still want to go out of state, but my mom's like a college, she owns collegeplanners.net. So she helps students like get into the colleges that they want to go in. So she's really good at helping you write your essay, like get everything together, tutoring services, stuff like that. And basically me and my brother were her like first clients, you know what I mean? So she had us doing like community service, like writing all of these essays, like applying for all of these scholarships. She was really big on like, I know you want to go here, but you need to do like the MTSU type thing.
Collegeplanner.net?
Yeah, collegeplanners.net.
That's fire.
Yeah.
Shout out to mom, dude.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Your dad's working on the logistical side of Walmart.
Yeah.
Your mom is working on collegeplanners.net.
Yeah.
Both Christian?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you grow up going to church.
Yep, 100%.
Do you have your own moment of faith?
Yeah.
Or like later on when you're an adult or a teenager, you have a moment of faith?
Yes. So essentially, I grew up going to church. Every time we would move, the first two things mom's looking for is the church and what school we're going to.
That's fire.
That also meant that I grew up in a lot of different church traditions because my especially at that time, my family wasn't really married to like a denomination, but more like the community of the church. So it's kind of
whatever sound got the most solid community.
Yep.
You guys were willing to maybe not fully align on some.
That's
of the
right.
theological
Especially in these
issues.
small towns, especially after they had like some of the traumatic events in Illinois. Then it was like, okay, we need like a community that's gonna like have our back type thing. And so I grew up in the church, multiple denominations. Church of God in Christ, Baptist, non-denominational, like different. And so I'm like a good kid.
Yeah.
I want to like be obedient to my parents. I want to, they wanted me to get good grades, love Jesus, and just not get into trouble. And so the challenge was, I just kind of saw, believing in Jesus as something that I did to be obedient, like to be a good kid. It didn't really have teeth. Like I didn't like see him as like saw him as like a savior, like culturally, but not like I'm literally following him. Like this is my like divine rabbi. Like I'm patterning my life after him. It wasn't like that. It was just like, I'm a good person.
More like a cultural Christian.
Yeah.
Okay. And so at what point do you have your?
So that breaks down when I become a teenager, because now, when I'm a kid, I'm just a kid. When I'm a teenager now, there's like different things vying for my allegiance, different worldviews, like, relationships and partying and then hip hop, like just regular hip hop culture, which was very attractive to me. I was also like a super Lil Wayne kid, like, and so.
What was it about hip hop culture that was attractive to you?
So I'm already a music lover, I think growing up, going to the jazz shows and the spoken word, that like gave me a love both for like, the rhythmic stuff and polyrhythms and all that stuff, and also like storytelling of the spoken word. And so as I'm getting older, it's like hip hop is a very potent combination of those two things. And my uncle's also putting me on to like Reflection Eternal, like Talib Kweli and Mos Def, like all the stuff he's listening to. So he's showing me all this backpack rap at the same time he's showing me Christian rap and stuff. And so all that stuff is like so musical and it's just fire, you know. And then, but if you were a teenager at the time I was a teenager and you already loved hip hop music, bro, Lil Wayne is gonna like, and then you just want to learn about everybody after that. You know what I mean? Like, and so their narratives start getting in my head, especially their narratives about what it means to be a man, like relationships, women, what it, and those are the things that really, it's like I wasn't gonna start selling drugs. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna start killing people or anything like that. That's just not the environment I was raised in. And so I kind of told myself as like a Christian kid, like, oh, I'm listening to this, but this isn't going to really affect me. Like, yeah, they're violent. I'm not going to do that, obviously. But I didn't know that the more insidious and subtle things of what they were telling me about what it means to be a man, what it means to have status, what it means to be a king, you know what I mean? Like, and what women are for and what their place is and all of these things and what your friends are for and like, you know, the way the street code would work into everyday life of like, you know, not snitching. What does that mean for me in my situation? That stuff was actually taking root in my heart. You know what I mean? And so that's when I start kind of living almost a double life. You know, like I'm a good Christian kid and people see me that way, but I just start to hide stuff. I start to become a really good liar. Like I'm sneaking out. I'm going and doing whatever at parties. Like my view of relationships was terrible at that point. And then that leads to like even crazier stuff like porn addiction and sexual addiction and like all of that. And then hiding it too. So like hiding it behind this facade. So yeah, so that's like the state that I was in as a teenager but still going to church, like still doing the church stuff, still going to youth camp, still memorizing verses, like all of that. It was very hard for people to tell on the outside that was, except like my group of friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it's like you're dealing with a degree of syncretism.
Yeah,
two opposing worldviews
clashing
together. So you got your faith tradition and the faith that you grew up in, and then you have this allure of hedonism and self-gratification and you know, do what thou will, basically. You know, and I'm not saying Lil Wayne was intentionally being satanic or nothing like that. I'm saying that is the paradigm that a lot of the stuff that's propagated, 100%. The worldview of it is.
100%. And I was drawn to like the rappers that would still have Jesus pieces on and like would say, because then it's like confusing enough. It's like, oh, I'm like them. Like, nah, he's a Christian. Like people still do that now. Like, you know, like, nah, he's a Christian, bro. It's like, it's cool. Like we all struggle with stuff. Like, you know, Jesus died for this type vibes, you know, but I was actually being discipled. I mean, I was being discipled on both ends. Like you're saying, it was syncretism. Like, but I definitely was being discipled by the worldviews of like. Yeah.
So when do you come to faith?
Yeah. So
and what does your relationship with the type of hip hop you're consuming change?
Yeah. So I was kind of caught in a cycle where I would have like a lot of guilt over the sins that I was committing, and I would make these promises to God to stop, you know, and then just like, you know, that would be short lived or whatever. And then around when I was 18, I heard a sermon on James 2:19 that says, you believe there is one God, you do well, even the demons believe and they shudder. All right, in that sermon, I'm like, now hold on a second, I haven't heard anything like this. And that's very scary because it's like, wait, the demons believe and they shudder, so they have like a fear. And the preacher goes on to say that like they don't doubt like we do. Like every time a demon sees Jesus in scripture, they know who he is. Like their eschatology is good. They're like, have you come to destroy us before the time? Like they ask him like, can you just send us into the, like they know who he is. They know his power. They know what's going to happen at the end of time. They call him the Son of God to the point where he's like, stop talking.
Yeah, they're checking off all the right theological boxes.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I'm like, dang, like what is separating me from the demons then?
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so that was
How old are you when you heard this?
18.
Okay.
And so that, I would say that started, that's when the faith became like, started to have teeth is how I would say it. Like really like, okay, there is like a heavy call and decision to be made versus just, this is kind of the culture that I'm in type thing. And so, yeah, I think that at that sermon, that's when I was like, okay, I don't want to be like this. I want to actually like explore Jesus as not just like the God that exists, but actually like my personal, like I said, divine rabbi, like the person that I'm following, that I'm saying no to myself. I'm saying no to, I hadn't really said no to anything before that. It was like, I can just have both type thing. It was like, oh no, you have to say no to things when you're like, your yes to Jesus is a no to other things. You know what I mean? But I struggled after that for years, like, because by that time I'm like in full blown like pornography and like a type of sexual addiction. Like sex and love addiction is, I've done a lot of work around it now, but sex and love addiction would be technically what I was
like a hopeless romantic falling in love.
Yeah.
And then that leading
what
to
separates it from just sex addiction is that it's like serial relationships, essentially. There has to be a relationship component. So it's like I wouldn't like, and this is not setting myself up as like better than other addicts or anything, but I wouldn't have like, it wouldn't be like prostitutes or like one night. That's not the addiction. The addiction is a relationship with somebody while having another relationship with somebody else, while having another relationship. That is that's how the addiction manifests.
That's
essentially.
heavy.
Yeah.
That's heavy because then at that point, like you're a cheater, and
Yeah.
that's and
100%.
kind of everyone frowns upon that.
Except Lil Wayne, you know what I mean?
I guess except Lil Wayne.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So like you actually can see a direct parallel to that music. It was like my girl got a girlfriend, like you know, my side chick, like that whole thing. I had accepted that as like that's what it means to be a man. I'm telling you now with who I am that it was a sex and love addiction. At that time, I was just lit. I was just being like Wayne. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So
that's
that
heavy.
Yeah. So I still struggle. I still struggled with that for years. But there was and again, I was hiding everything. I was lying about it. So I think the moment where Jesus was like, you can't have both. I like how you said the syncretism thing, because it's a concise way to say this, where he was like, no, you actually can't have both. This isn't syncretism. This is, you're giving your life to me, like everything. It's one thing. And that moment was, I had essentially, nobody had caught me with all the different like side situations I had going on. And I had decided that I was just going to stop. I was going to stop cold turkey. And I was telling God, like, I'm never going to do this again. Same thing I've been saying, but and at this time I'm with my wife. Like this is
You guys are dating or married?
No, we're married. This is
Wow.
the first year of our marriage, which I also speak about my music, but
Was this you talked about this on Solar?
yeah, on Close. It's on Canopy too, the first album, but it's a little bit more, you'd have to know. Close is like just straight out there with it. But, this is our first year of marriage. I mean, it's like 6 months in, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore, you know? And I'm like, God, I'm giving it all to you. I've blocked everything. I've changed my number, just as long as I don't have to tell my wife this. Like, I just don't want to do that. Like, that's going to be the worst day of my life, obviously. Like,
In terms of who you were in the past or women you were seeing while you were married?
I mean, all of it. But I was seeing women while I was married. For that first 6 months, you know? And yeah, so I was like, God, I'm done. And he was like, no, you actually do have to
Confess.
You do have to confess this.
Oof.
You have to confess to your wife. You have to bring in your church community. You have to do all of that. And the reason that the moment was like so potent for me is because I wasn't caught. Like, it was just me and God. It was just, there was no threat of anything happening. And God was like, yeah, even though like there's no threat, like, this is me and you have to do this. And so that's what I did. And it was the worst day of my life. But that's, when I talk about like the gospel having teeth, that is where I actually experienced like the power of the gospel, the freedom of repentance, like even the power of like real church community, where you're just like completely vulnerable. Everything came from that moment. Humility, like,
That's heavy, man.
No, it was
it
gnarly.
multiple women or just another relationship?
It was multiple women. It was 3 other relationships. It's the same way the addiction had like manifested.
That sounds like just logistically, it sounds like a lot to maintain.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not trying to be funny. Like, I never understood the cheating thing because funny. It seems like it was a lot. It's just it's a lot of work.
It is. But I mean, you think about the lengths that people go for any addiction.
Sure. Yeah.
It's always a lot of work.
Yeah, that's good.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's always a lot of work to live a lie, but that's what happens.
So how did you go about telling your wife, and what was her reaction?
So, I mean, we're 22 at this time, because we got married really young. And there's no playbook for this. I also didn't have the type of robust community that I have now. I didn't have mentors it is what it is. The only mentors that I had in my life at the time that's so sinful that there's no way they could, that's so sinful. There's no way they could walk me through it, and they didn't. So, I just had to, the same way that it was just me and God in the conviction, it's kind of what it was in the confession too. It's just, I just do my best. Like, I was like, okay, she's going to get home from work and I'm going to like sit her down and just, I don't know, I'm just going to say this, you know what I mean? And so that's what it was. It was just like a humble, contrite confession with just complete open hands, like no manipulation, like whatever this brings is what it brings. Like,
she have any inkling of this in your past, or was she totally blindsided?
In the dating past, like she did. Like there was a time that I had confessed to her in dating, and she was like, which made this like even more painful. She in the dating relationship, she said, "I'm gonna forgive you for this, but I don't want this to be something that we're dealing with in 10 years," type thing. And so that made it even like heavier, But yeah, she I don't think that she had any inkling like in our marriage that had that was happening.
And how did she take it? How did she respond?
She immediately said that she was not gonna leave me, which obviously made it like even that's just like that's beautiful, and it hurts. It hurts like even more. Like this is the woman, that I've betrayed. So she said that, but then obviously like she broke down, and it wasn't like it wasn't a pretty package. Like it was everything all at once. Like it's like there's like this level of forgiveness, there's a lot of anger, like there's a lot of sadness, like we don't know what to do or who to go to. We're in this tiny, terrible apartment at the time too. So there's like no space. And yeah, it was very tough. So we kind of tried to just do what we could over the next like 2 to 3 days. Like we're just going to work and then we're like, we have to bring the church in on this, like, because we're barely existing at this point, barely getting by. And so we take it to the elders of our church at the time, and we're confessing. I'm confessing. She also had things to confess too. It's just not really my story to tell. But
and how long had it been for you since you ended these other relationships, and the moment you're confessing to her and the moment you're confessing to the church?
I'm sorry, what?
The window of time you had stopped engaging in these other relationships.
6 months. So actually, I gave you the timeline I said was a little confusing. So for the first 6 months of marriage, I was in these relationships. I stopped, and for 6 months, like cold turkey, and I tried to offer that 6 months to God, like, see, I'm really like this now, so I don't have to confess. And then at the end of that second 6 months, he was like, no, you got to do it. So it had been 6 months. before I confessed to my wife. And then it was like 2 or 3 days before we went to the church, essentially just for help. Long story short, they completely fumbled it. Just completely fumbled it.
Oh no.
Like started talking Matthew 18, like we're gonna have to like go before the church, and it's like that doesn't even make sense.
Oh
like,
no.
We're confessing this to you. Like you didn't catch us in anything. We're not in rebellion. We're contritely repenting and confessing and asking for help.
Yeah.
Care from the church.
So they try to take you out before the church?
That was the first suggestion, and then they rolled that back, and then they were like, okay, we're gonna this part was cool. It was like, we're gonna put you with mentors that are gonna help you like walk through the next few months. And then that just got completely fumbled too. But yeah, there was a lot of like very painful things that happened in that process, which were just, I'm not going to talk about that specifically because other people are involved. But then at the end of that process, like essentially we're all in the pastor's office with my wife, and the pastor's like accidentally calling her like my affair partner's name, like all like just different stuff. She like, we're wrecked, obviously.
Oh my gosh.
And then they're like, well, we got to go to Sunday night service, so you guys can just like stay in the room, I guess. And like,
oh my
they're
gosh.
walking out. One's like, are you okay? And she's like, of course I'm not okay. And then that was the last time that we ever went to that church. So
wow.
Yeah.
So did you guys find a church or anyone that come alongside you guys and help you guys heal through this process?
That's a big part of the story too, a part of the redemptive arc. Like I said, everything good from the, like more than good, like incredible from the Christian faith came from this moment of confession and repentance. So we did find a community in Murfreesboro City Church where we still go. We've been there for like 10 years now.
That's awesome.
First thing we did when we got there was like we told them everything, because we were like, we're not gonna just go to another church and try to do a clean slate thing and try to run from it. And also we were just so kind of raw and emotionally hurt that we were like, if we tell people this and they don't meet us where we are, then we don't even want to get involved. And so we told them, and it was just like the exact opposite. It was like we were met with a lot of grace and care. Also, like there's this thing when you're used to like a shame culture where you can tell from somebody's eyes, like from their face, like when you say something, if they're judging you. And like we told them, and there wasn't any of that. It was like they were just listening. They were waiting for the next part, you know, like they had, as if they had heard people say these things before and had helped them walk through it. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, this isn't surprising. Like, you know, and then they just like, they discipled us like for real. Like they put us with couples who had either been through it or were just couples who had a lot of wisdom in the areas that we both needed like help. And they were just with us every week. We're eating, we're in their houses, you know, we're just living life with them, you know, and that's where we experience healing. We experience like the love of Jesus very tangibly. Like our prayer life like started to actually be like a real prayer life, and we're seeing him answer all of these prayers, like big and small, you know. And so yeah, so that's
incredible,
yeah.
man. Wow. That's wild. And you said you still remember there?
Yeah.
That's so
Yep.
dope. That's so dope.
Yep,
I
we
always
love
love
City.
meeting people who have been at the same church for like a decade.
We love City Church. Yeah, we've been at City Church since before like people knew.
Yeah.
No, because all of this is also before my music career.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So like, it's like, yeah, we're locked
What
in.
What year did all this happen?
2014.
Okay. So I think we met right
2014,
after that.
2015.
Yeah, we met right after that. I think it was summer of 2015. We did the Soul Rebel tour, and we went through Murfreesboro.
Yeah, that's right.
And you played with us. You did the show with us.
Yeah. I think that's right. Yeah.
So wow, that's so
Yeah,
interesting.
the year after. Yeah.
The year after is when we met. Wow, that's crazy. So, I love that you're vulnerable about this in your music.
Yeah.
And because I think even though that's something that like someone like me would be like, wait, how does that work logistically. You know, like my brain
Yeah.
goes there. But then everybody has dealt with, not everybody, but a lot of people have dealt with something.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Even if it's just porn addiction and not
Right.
being honest about that, right?
That's right.
People deal with stuff. And so I think there's a healing component that when you hear someone else be able to talk about it and their redemption arc,
Yeah.
that it's, I don't know if cathartic is the right word, but it's encouraging.
Yeah, yeah. Like people can connect with it in a real way, because they hear part of their story, and you know, even if it's like the very specific happenings in the story is not what happened to them. Like people know what it's like to, at least in a moment, be living a double life, like, or to have a deep dark secret, and the moment where you're deciding, am I going to actually say yes to Jesus in this moment where it's going to cost me like everything, you know? Because that cost us like all the friends that we had known, and like they all went to the other church, you know? Like we lost our entire community,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But then we gained it, but you know, almost like Job, you know, like God provided us with everything that we lost and more, you know?
Yeah. And so this before your music career, but then your music career kind of has an interesting start because you were a road manager for Derek Minor.
That's right.
And you were kind of behind the scenes for a couple of years.
Yeah, that's
this
right.
This is around the same time you're transitioning into music. Is it the same window?
So MTSU, I went to MTSU for the recording industry program. Great program. Part of that, like in your last 2 years, they want you to start interning with labels. And so I knew that, you know, Derek came back to speak to the students because he's an alumni of MTSU. Derek Minor is an alumni of MTSU as well. He came back to speak to the students. Me and my friends went and listened to that. That's where we met him. We talked to him afterwards. He kind of took us under his wing, started bringing us to studio sessions, Bible studies, all type of stuff. It was really dope, like what he was doing at that time. And then that kind of naturally, changed into an internship. And then I started being the merch manager for RMG and him specifically, and then the road manager for him. And then in, I think it was 2014 Winter Jam, I went on that as Derek's merch manager. So it was like Lecrae was headlining, and Derek was on Winter Jam. So we're all on the bus together. That's where I meet Lecrae, and then that's where I start to meet everybody, is through Derek and Lecrae. So before I even put out my true first song as No Big Deal, I know like a lot of the like people who I consider legends of Christian hip hop from being on the merch and road manager side.
It's an interesting path to take.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because you're building relationship, you're providing and serving a practical need.
Yeah.
And then it gets your foot in the door. If the music is good, then the music is good.
Yeah.
And with you, the music was good from very early on. I mean, from that show we did in 2015, it was like, oh, this dude got it. Like he got it.
Wow. Thank you, bro. Yeah, it was interesting because like while I was doing the merch and stuff, I just had this, I like I said, I grew up going to shows and stuff like that. And I just know the people who are always like, they're working a job, but they're like, yo, check out my mixtape, right? And also being on the bus, bro, 2014, like for Reach was like different. Like people would be bringing like at the signing lines and stuff, like it'd be like 150 like demos.
For
like
real?
By the end of the night, you know what I mean? And letters and stuff.
And you would see all this.
I would see all of it because it was part of the like hazing process that like I'd get on the bus and like all the letters and demos would be in my bunk. So it's like you're like, I'm like the last one on because I'm doing merch. And so I'm like, oh man, and you're on the top bunk because you're the merch guy. Yeah. I'm so tired. I'm about to get in bed and it's just like like all these like demos and letters and stuff. Like so yeah.
What'd you do with all the demos?
I mean, at first, like when I was very new, at first I was like, oh, I'm gonna listen to these demos or whatever. But then it was like, all right, bro, this is
so
too much.
Sweet.
Yeah. But also at MTSU, they teach you like if you like you should never open demos or listen to them, because if you put out a song and it has stuff in there, then that person could say, oh, I can prove that you had access to my stuff and you stole this from me. You know what I mean? So I stopped listening to them, but yeah, that yeah.
That's an amazing hazing ritual for the record.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That one's
that's
pretty
good. That's good. So
that's pretty good.
In terms of music, when would you, from your vantage point, would you say like you felt like you had your first like break? Was it with Canopy Tape? Was it with the Solar when you did the deal with Capitol?
Yeah.
Like, what moment do you feel like?
So for me, again, I grew up as a hip hop head kid. Like all of it is like magic and wonder to me. Like I had posters all over my walls and everything. So when I did my first mixtape, Smoke Signal, and it got like 5,000 downloads on Rapzilla back when Rapzilla was like, one of the top blogs. To me, that was like, yo, this is crazy. Like I didn't have a mindset of I've made it, but I was like, this is bigger than I could have ever imagined anything to get. And pretty much every step has felt like that. So then Canopy, when it was like top 10 on iTunes and labels start calling, I'm like, this is wild. Because I was a kid who grew up like idolizing these rappers, So I'm like, everything felt crazy to me. Objectively now, like looking back at what by industry standards, what would be like the breakout, it would be 2020, I think. Well, it's like the end of 2019 and 2020. So it's like Lowercase Tape, which was like a full project that still has some of my like best streaming songs, like Fieldhouse Freestyle Sticks. And then Parabolic hitting in 2020, like during the pandemic, and then Willie with Andy Mineo. Like everybody's at home tuning into these videos and everything just starts to go up. So like industry wise, it'd be that. For me, every single step has felt like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talked about secular music. You talked about Willow Wayne.
Yeah.
And then you have a record with Project Pat.
Yes.
So Project Pat, the connection to 3-6 Mafia.
Yeah.
Same region.
Yes. Exactly, bro.
What is that like?
Yeah, so that felt huge to me because I also grew up on 3-6 as well, just like everybody in Tennessee did. Was a little more cautious with them just being in Christian culture, but they had hits, bro, and they had an MTV TV show. And so Project Pat, who is Juicy J's brother, not technically in 3-6, but obviously like in that same world.
Yeah.
Grew up like he's a legend, and especially in Tennessee. Like all those Memphis guys are legends. So getting to work with him has been amazing. Yeah, we have a song coming out called Never Going Back. And the amazing thing is he is a believer, and he's really like
he's doing like prison ministry and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
He's doing prison ministry. Has like a nonprofit, and it's just amazing. Like seeing somebody who I grew up like being a legend on the rap side, and he's still rapping, but he's like very like the verse he gave is like so like unashamed, bro. Like for this song, so fire. So being a Tennessee kid, being able to work with him is like incredible. Yeah,
that's fire. So you're not waiting another year, or excuse me, not waiting another 5 years to put out an album.
Yeah, no.
You connected with Kato.
Yeah, Kato.
Super dope producer.
Kato on the track. So actually this idea is kind of crazy, but I put out like a tweet last year. I think I had like drank like 3 cups of coffee back to back, and so I was like on one. Like,
he was hype.
I was hype. I just tweeted out on a whim like, yo, I'm trying to lock in with a producer for 7 days, and whatever we make is what we make, and we put it out.
Yeah.
And I tweeted it, and then I put it on Instagram, and it got way more traction than I thought it would. And Kato was like one of the people who was like, let's do this. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. And so
Kato's fire, by the way. And he's to me, he is the epitome of a new wave producer.
Yeah.
That understands that you have to have your own thing.
That's right.
To not be dependent on rappers, because rappers is mad finicky.
Yeah.
Labels don't always pay on time. Like, and so I think he really gets it as a content creator, as well as someone that makes fire music.
Which is why it was amazing working with him. Also, as like the crazy accolades that he has and the people he's worked with, I just have to say this, he is one of the easiest people that I've ever worked with. He's easier to work with than 9 out of 10 people in Christian music. Like, it just is what it is. Like, very low key, very humble, very easygoing, very like, yo, let's just split it. Like, let's just do this. Like, yeah, okay, you want me to do that? I'll do like on like the work end of it. Like, yeah, like you said, like he's like an independent artist. He just happens not to rap. Like, he has the same indie spirit that we have, but he just happens not to rap. And so
I really hope producers are paying attention.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone that's mad at rappers for splits and not paying enough, and all the, because man, I tell you what, producers is one of the hardest things for me to deal with in doing music, you know? And it's getting better. And it's always the producers that got their own thing going that are the easiest. Like if a producer has a streaming thing going, if a producer has his own, if they are a producer that has co-releases, to me, that's the line. If they're a co-release producer, that's the bare minimal now. Because I feel like if you're a co-release producer, you're going to be much easier to deal with.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's almost like a cycle. It's like because he has that work ethic and he built his own thing out, like artists like me want to do co-release with him.
That's right. Because he presents value beyond just a beat.
Yep, 100%. So that's how we did the project. But yeah, we locked in like a Airbnb. And we actually, we made everything in 3.5 days. Like as far as the writing and recording process.
Yeah.
It was amazing because he really pushed me on not overthinking. Like I'm very much like write it, then rewrite it, then and I love that, and I'm gonna continue to do that. But for this project, we wanted to both create something that we wouldn't normally create by ourselves. And so he pushed me on like improvisation and keeping the first take because of like the energy or the way that I said stuff. And so yeah, we got the whole thing written and recorded in 3.5 days, and then we used the other 3.5 days to like, you know, post-production and mixing and stuff like that. And we did that last year, but it's coming out in May.
Okay.
So that has the Project Pat song on it. Yeah, I really love that project. So
what can people expect from it aesthetically? Are we getting more boom bap deal? Are we getting more, you know, bounce?
Yeah, it's definitely
fun record deal.
It's definitely like mostly like hard hitting, bouncy, like high energy, up tempo. But then there's definitely tracks on here that are gonna completely surprise people who know Kato's discography, and they're gonna be like, I didn't know he could make beats like that, like a completely different style, which I thought was very fire. Like that, I like in the same way that he brought a different writing and recording process out of me, like I brought a different production bag out of him because of some of the concepts I was talking about. They needed a different type of production. So you're gonna get everything from like fans of stuff like Parabolic, but then all the way to fans of people or fans of things like Loved or Imago, like Imago Interlude, like it's all on there. So
that's fire, man.
Yeah.
So that comes out beginning of May.
Yeah, beginning of May 9th. Yeah.
Smoke Fest.
Holy smoke. Yes. We did a really good job of getting everybody to say Smoke Fest, and we need to do equally as good a job to get everybody to say Holy Smoke now.
But do y'all own the name now?
Yes, we own the name now.
Trademarked it.
Holy Smoke. Holy Smoke.
There was some drama around that.
You know,
I want to see what deal I'm gonna get. Am I gonna get political correct media trained deal, or am I gonna get real deal?
I've never been media trained.
Okay.
You know, it's just how my personality is. Sometimes I go there and sometimes I don't. It's Holy Smoke, man.
Okay.
It's Holy Smoke. Holy Smoke Fest. But yeah, we're very excited. This is our 5th year, bro. So we saw that like we started the same year as Dreamville Fest, and like Dreamville Fest is like done. Like they're done. And this is our 5th year. Like I only say that because it is I know how hard it is to sustain and build a festival. And so to see like somebody on like J. Cole's level be like, bro, this is a lot and we're gonna transition into something else. I'm like, bro, I feel you. It is tough, but we're gonna keep going with it type vibes.
I think that was shocking for people to see that J. Cole's no longer, or they're like revamping it.
I think
somehow.
they're gonna
I'm guessing they're just gonna have to scale it down. That's the only thing I could think of. Because if they're doing a massive open air space, you know, in I think it's in Raleigh. Yeah.
I think so. My prediction is just that it's essentially going to be the same size. It's going to change names, but it's not going to be J. Cole headlining it, and it's going to like the genre is going to open up a little bit.
Interesting.
I don't think it's going to get smaller. I just think it's not something J. Cole is going to like, and that the Dreamville artists are going to. But I heard he still has ownership in it though, because he built the market in Raleigh, and Raleigh is like very appreciative.
Yeah.
So he has to have a piece of it.
Well, you guys went initially Atlanta.
Yes.
And then past couple have been in Nashville.
Yeah.
Are you going to keep it in Nashville?
Yes. The last 3 have been in Nashville. We're going to continue to build it. there is a world where like we end up like Rolling Loud, where like I think Rolling Loud's original one was Miami, and is probably still the biggest. But then they're worldwide now. They're everywhere. They have New York, California, but they have like Thailand and stuff. So, but we think it's we're very big on the festival culture at Holy Smoke. So this is not a concert. Like that was part of our original marketing. Like this is a festival, not a concert. So to build that culture, it needs to be in one place, and we don't just want to we're not just going for the money grab, because we've had like people with money be like, yo, come do it in this city, like, and we'll take it over, we'll give you this bag, whatever. And it's like, that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to make a central place for this movement of excellent Christian art that is hip hop centric, but it can be the adjacent genres that flow in and out of hip hop. And also like the businesses that interact with that, and the speakers that interact with that, and all of that. Like, we want a hub for the culture. So we need to build it first, like where it's a yearly thing that people are coming. And there's been like artists that have been launched at Holy Smoke, but there's also been like nonprofits and like the Cove Christian Club, like they all met at Holy Smoke, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
we just did our first Bless God Summit event, which unfortunately you couldn't attend because you were on tour with Hobie. For the record, let me let the record show. I did try to fly you out in the middle of the tour.
Yes, you did.
But I'm like, I'm gonna leave this dude alone because he's in tour head. But the ability to see your audience in person and to understand the type of people you're impacting and the scale at which you're impacting, right? Like, I'll do a live stream, and if it's 400 people for a live stream, it's kind of a dud for us. Like that's like kind of a bad stream. Those are bad numbers, But 400 people in a room is like, yo, there's 400 people in this room, bro. This is crazy.
And I wish people would I know you're talking about the summit, but I wish people would just adopt that mindset for socials, for anything, bro. It's like it's like you're seeing 500 people viewed this, and you're like, this just flopped. And it's like, bro, that's 500 people.
Yeah, when it really hit me, when it really hit me, and I actually got a lot of crap for this. So I was hosting the event. I was like doing the hosting. I spoke, and I did pretty much all the panels. Meaning all my speakers, I had the panels, and I introduced all my artists. Like I did a lot, and thankfully we had a great team with King 16. But what really hit me was we did a meet and greet, and people could upgrade. If you're VIP or you had a meet and greet, and it was like upgraded for a meet and greet, and it was I was like $75 or something. And I think like, pay $75 to meet me. I'm walking around, hanging out, taking pictures with everybody as I go. And then when we started the meet and greet, and there was like 100 people lined up to take a picture, like that's when it really hit me. Yeah. Like I'm like, oh,
the depth. Yeah.
They're here to meet me. Like they actually want to meet me, and a picture means something to them.
Yeah.
It's way different than analytics on a screen.
That's right.
It's way different than a follower count.
Yeah.
When people are like, yo, you changed my life. You said this, and this helped me unpack this, and this, And so that's the beautiful part about what the festival you guys are doing, is you guys are getting to experience that, but even deeper, you're creating a community where people are meeting and connecting and building relationships.
Yeah. And then part of the DNA of the festival is also like, because just straight up buzz and money are not our North Star, that's not our guiding post, and that frees us up to actually curate lineups that we actually think people are pushing the envelope of Christian art, of Christian hip hop, and give a platform to people who haven't gotten those looks before. So Holy Smoke also has a legacy of being people's first performance ever. Like Henrik's first performance ever.
He's blowing up now.
was at Holy Smoke, and there's a lot of other people like that. Montel, like, it wasn't his first performance, but it might have been his first performance of that size, to be honest, like at the time, because it was the first one.
How many people are showing up now? What's the
now? 1,500.
1,500. 1 day or 2 days?
2 days. So 1,500 both days. So this will probably be the last year that we can do it at the 1,500 cap, unless we like do something in the parking lot as well. But yeah, that's like in Nashville, and for our genre, that's like crazy. I do think that if it was like in another city, it could be like
Probably you guys could probably do at least double that in DFW.
yeah.
You
I was
go to
gonna say in Dallas it
is
probably
crazy,
would.
bro.
But you know, there's something that like it's like doing it in a city that doesn't have it. I don't know. There's something like attractive about that too. It's like everything that's happening right here is happening because of the merit of the festival and the music itself, not because they're like other people have built something here, essentially, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, we getting offers to go take our thing other spots, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll do a pop up. I'll do it one day,
Yeah.
but I'm not. I want to keep our thing here.
Plus, that's where I live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which I think, I don't know, it's just like the hip hop in me too. It's like, you know, when these artists have festivals, like even the Roots Picnic, like it's in Philadelphia, you know what I mean? Or like Tyler's Festival, it's in LA. Like, I still want to keep it like still that flesh and blood, like that hip hop spirit, not just like, oh, we'll do it wherever, whoever's the highest bidder and whatever, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I love that, man. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
man, just thanks for having me. Yeah, Holy Smoke. Oh, the dates of Holy Smoke, August 14th through 16th in Nashville, Tennessee. Indie Tribe Project later this year.
When is it? Is it coming out? I love that it comes out around the time of the
You know what? I
festival.
don't think I was supposed to say that, but yeah, but maybe it'll be whoever sees this got a little exclusive.
Do we got a date yet? Give me
No,
the
we
date.
don't have a date.
No!
We don't have a date. I caught myself before, like, you got out of me that there's a project, but
Thank you.
then I
I
was like,
figured
you
there
know
was a
what?
project. I mean, it's been a project.
People should figure there's a
Yeah.
project,
It's
but
great.
I hadn't said it yet. is the thing.
No, the Rob Bell song is fire.
Yeah.
By the way, me having to explain who Rob Bell is to my 10-year-old,
Yeah.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
Because then we're getting into hell and
That's
like
what-
we're having a pretty
what I
deep
wanted-
conversation.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
That was like, so I'll tell you a little story about that song. So we recorded that at my house. Like all the Indie Tribe guys were over at the house and we were recording in person. We do all our stuff in person, Indie Tribe. And so Tori and John were going crazy. That's a Carvello beat. And they're like in there writing their verses. They're going crazy. I was working on something else. And I came in and they're like working on the hook. And like that Rob Bell, like this is not Rob Bell, we about to rob hell, just like popped in my head. And like they're like doing different iterations of the hook. And I said that and they were like, yo, this is crazy. Like this is it. And they're like, nah, you got to sit down and like, you're working on this song now. I don't care what you're working on. So I started working on that or whatever. And then
They got by the way, for the record, they both got the line instantly.
No, that's what I was about to tell you. So like, so after the whole thing, they're like, I'm like, dang, they loved it. I'm thinking they got it. And then they were like, yo, so who's Rob Bell? Like, they just loved how it sounded like that much. You know what I'm saying?
And for the record, Rob Bell is a former pastor. He does stuff with Oprah now. He was kind of the first to come out in this idea of being affirming of LGTB stuff, being hell not being a literal place,
Which is the play we were making.
which is the
Yeah.
play that you're making. This
Yeah.
is not Rob Bell. We're about to rob hell.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Because when you said that, I was like, I don't think they're old enough to know who Rob Bell is. Because
I-
at one point he was scorching hot.
Yeah, I only knew who he was because my roommate in college, like his church watched the Numa videos or whatever.
Yeah.
So he introduced me to who he was. I didn't know who he was growing up. But
The funny thing about Rob
Yeah.
Bell, and this is not to dunk on Rob Bell. Actually, this is to dunk on Rob Bell.
okay, all right.
Is that he came out with this stuff and he sounded so smart and so like, this is a more friendly version of Christianity. It's a more this version of Christianity. And then he went and did some debates. And those are resurfacing now. And it's like bloodbaths. Like it's embarrassing. Yeah. Like he did an event with you remember, I don't know if you've ever seen his channel, Unbelievable. Unbelievable premiere there in London.
Okay.
My buddy Justin Briley does the channel.
Okay.
Excuse me, at the time did the channel. He's not doing his own thing. And he hosted a debate between Rob Bell and like respectfully some guy I've never even heard of. Like I'm not even familiar with.
Yeah.
And it was like embarrassing how badly he was just like on the LGTB question, on the hell question, like he came up with all this stuff and literally had no one to push back on any of these ideas. So when he got into an environment where he was pushed, and I'm not even talking these are not like nasty debates. It's like debate bro culture. These are very good faith conversation. Bro, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah. I don't actually know that much about Rob Bell. Like I didn't read his books.
Yeah. Good.
But I was just talking about the hell situation.
Yeah,
It's like no, we're standing on this. It's like, no, there is a hell and we're robbing it.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right. That's fire.
Like, that was it.
That's fire.
So, yeah.
Word up, man. Well, thank you for doing
Yeah,
this, man. I
thank you,
appreciate you, bro, hanging out and staying a little late.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
no,
man.
it was fun, bro.
We'll do
It was
this
fun.
again sometime.
Yes, sir. Let's get it.
All right, we're out of here, fellas. Peace. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to comment below and subscribe and all that good stuff. And check out this other video that YouTube seems to be recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.